I'll actually go ahead and introduce myself to get started. So my name is Kathy Kramer. I am the statewide program manager for Connect to DOT. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that program is at the end, but essentially we are a program of the Small Business Development Center. We provide free training, consulting. We do a lot of outreach events around projects for businesses that want to do business with CDOT or other transit and transportation agencies. So if you think about it, we're essentially like if CDOT or SBDC has a program for veterans, we have a program that are for highway design engineering folks, and what we try to do is really help you get prepared and help small businesses learn and understand how to do business with CDOT, and then also be successful in contracting. So we offer a wide range of services, and what I'm going to go through with you guys today is the process for how you actually do business with CDOT, because it can seem pretty daunting. If you have done work with the government before, you know that there's sometimes a lot of complexities with that, and CDOT is a government agency, so they look very similar sometimes. Well, today we're going to talk about, so this is just kind of one piece of government contracting, and this is when we talk specifically about CDOT. There's several different avenues, and now that I kind of know the areas of work that you guys are in, we're going to cover each one of those. But the way that CDOT essentially buys those products and services from you all is different depending upon what you offer. So I'm going to try to make it not terribly boring, not terribly complex, and make it seem like it's super easy, because it can be. It really can. So before we get started, I'm just going to do a little quiz bowl with you guys, and you are going to have to be disqualified for a minute. So how many miles of road or highway do you think that CDOT manages and oversees?
0, if I go by the potholes.
Oh, ouch. Ooh. Okay, let's put it this way. Most of those potholes are on city local roads, not under the umbrella of CDOT. But if you talk highway mile, like what do you think for highways? So you know all your interstates, everything else. How many miles? Wild guess.
10,000 lane miles.
How many did you say?
8,000 lane miles.
8,000 lane miles. How many?
10,000.
10,000. Okay. Well, you guys are sort of close in between if you hadn't said lane miles. CDOT actually oversees about 9,000 miles of highway, which translates to 23,000 lane miles. If you guys don't know what lane miles means when he brought that up, yeah, if you talk to the snowplow guys, they'll make sure you know how many lane miles it is, because they're like, 9,000 miles, that's not right. Do you know how many we go up and back and up and back? So yeah, so that's actually 23,000 lane miles across the state, which is pretty impressive. It's a pretty big highway system that we have here. CDOT is one of the largest state agencies. They do have over $1 billion budget. This year, these numbers are a little bit low. Actually, I didn't update them for this year's budget, but they will spend approximately $600 million on highway design and construction. That's a lot of cash that's going out to contractors. So there is a big opportunity here. If you're not familiar with RAMP, it essentially is a program that CDOT put in place, I think 2 years ago now it actually started. You would probably know, Scott. Yeah. And they will provide grants out to local government agencies to do road type work. So it's putting in about $300 million or more into the budget or into the construction industry every year. And it's not new money. It's not like CDOT, had this big windfall of money. It essentially is just a way that they reallocate their funding. They used to have to save everything up, like put it in a pot. So if it was going to be a $50 million project that was going to go for 5 years, they'd have to have all that money saved up before they could start the project. So now what they're doing is they're starting the projects knowing that that funding will be allocated over time. So you'll see, I mean, if you guys drive around here, right, you know there's I-25 Cimarron going on right now, there's New Pueblo Freeway, there's I-25 Ilex Bridges. So there's a lot of construction even in this area here that is sort of taking over a lot of what we do, but the idea is the growth in this state has been insane. So if you look at numbers, we need to accommodate people driving cars. Unless y'all want to start doing hovercraft or something like that, which would be cool. But yeah, for right now, that's kind of where we are. The other thing to know is that CDOT is not just roads and bridges, okay? We talk a lot about that because that's the primary component of what they do, but they also do support local airports, so they have an aeronautics division. They also have a rail, so when we talk about transit transportation, they have a rail interconnectivity program that they run. They have a transit group that actually works on the transit systems like RTDs and the rail lines. And they also do fund those municipal city projects. So sometimes people say, oh, well, you know, City of Colorado Springs is going to do this project and it's a road project. Well, a lot of times they get funding from CDOT. So if you think about it, all those CDOT rules and regulations kind of flow down. So just think about it that way. Where does CDOT work? Is this familiar to anybody? Yeah. Scott's like, yes, of course it is. The reason why I talk about this with folks that are not familiar with CDOT is because this is the way CDOT talks. And when they talk about doing projects, they talk about it in terms of regions. And for them, they've divided the state up into 5 regions. They mostly follow county lines. The largest population and funding-wise region is 1 because it's Denver Metro. But when we get down here into Colorado Springs, you're actually talking about region 2. And so when CDOT advertises projects, they talk about them in those regions. They'll say it's a region 3 project. So if it's a region 3 project, where's it going to be? Northwest, right? So just realize if you are able to deploy statewide, then you might be able to do that. But like say for a trucking company, it might not be easy for you to mobilize, you know, down in like Las Animas County or down in Durango, you know, in region 5, because it just might cost too much for you. So knowing where the regions are and when they advertise projects and they talk about that, you'll have a better understanding if you understand what the map layout is, okay? All right, so what does CDOT buy? They buy all sorts of stuff. They don't buy as much stuff as the federal government, because I know you guys talk about diapers to bombs or something like that. And CDOT doesn't buy those things, but they do buy a lot of other things. It is a government agency. They do have to actually operate that agency, so they buy janitorial services, and they buy office supplies. They don't do a lot of buildings, but they have buildings, right? So they do maintenance on those buildings. There are other services that come in. Obviously, they use trucking and environmental. So we're going to go through those 3 primary categories and what that looks like so that you guys have a better understanding of when you want to work with CDOT, what's your best path to entry, okay? Nice. Okay, did you guys hear that? 14 to 20 million a year in vertical, which you don't think of very much when it comes to CDOT, because we typically talk about CDOT in terms of horizontal construction. But that's good, you know, like they are building buildings. If you think about transit-oriented design, there's money that may go into those types of projects. So, and they may do renovation on their new headquarters when they finally move. We'll see. But yeah, so there is opportunities there as well. Emergency maintenance, I'm not going to get into a lot right now, but this is a real sweet spot sometimes for small businesses. It's going to be more in line of the folks up here, you're trucking probably. When we talk about emergency maintenance, CDOT, as a government agency, they have procurement rules, same as all state agencies. But when it comes to emergencies, those are things that shut down a road, potentially put hazards in the traveling public, anything that creates like a serious situation, a sinkhole, right? Like they want to make sure that those are fixed immediately. So what that means is they can't go out to bid for 30 days saying, hey, can someone fix this sinkhole that just ate 20 cars? They actually have to get that taken care of immediately. So all procurement rules go out the door, right? And believe it or not, and I've seen this, some of the maintenance folks over there, they have a Rolodex still. It's sometimes on their computer, but it's the people they know in certain areas that they know that they can call to respond immediately. That list does not exist somewhere publicly, so it's a matter of getting to know those people and letting them know where you are, where you can deploy to quickly. All right, they're not going to have you here in Denver or Colorado Springs go fix a sinkhole out in Grand Junction today. They're going to call somebody out there. But if it happens here, like when all the flooding happened, it was a crazy insanity time. I had people calling me saying, who do you know has got trucks? We need trucks, like right now. And so that's the kind of thing where when they have a situation like that, they need to go at that. So for small businesses, sometimes it's a way to get in the door because you can be a part of those projects. All right, so let me talk about this first one. This is what CDOT kind of calls professional services, goods, and supplies. This is like the commodities type area or the general services area. It would be the things like we talked about with janitorial, Frida. So the way that CDOT purchased this recently changed. It used to be, do you guys know about Colorado bids? Has anybody heard about bids? Does anybody know what happened to Colorado bids? David knows. It went up in crazy flames. No, it didn't actually burn down. It just sort of sunsetted. Is that a nicer term of saying it? Yeah. So that system used to be used by state purchasing to purchase for all state agencies and universities. And that system then transitioned, maybe we'll say it that way, to the vendor self-service. So it was vendor self-service, right? VSS? Yeah, I was like, come on, David, you know the acronym, right? It's a new system, but essentially it operates the same way. So it's where you'll see all procurements or solicitations posted for most of the state agencies. Now, CDOT used to be on bids. They opted not to transition to that vendor self-service system, and so now they have their own, all right? And this is news for some people. They didn't realize this, but they do use something called a supplier self-service portal. And both of these are free. I usually tell people you need to be in both places, all right? Because you don't know, opportunities may come up in one or the other, but they're free. There's no point not to. All businesses that work with CDOT must be registered in this supplier self-service portal. So if you haven't done it yet, some people say, well, why should I? Well, if you want to, or if you intend to, or if you're looking to, which all you guys here, I mean, unless you want to go downstairs to the panel, I assume you're here because you're looking at doing that, then you do need to get registered in that portal. It's a fairly straightforward process. Some folks will say, well, I'm not doing business. What does it do for me? It's the only place at CDOT that you have a central database of all vendors. So I do know that they're going to start using it to do more searching and looking for vendors when they need certain people. And then one thing to note, though, is, and we're going to get into this, the different areas, highway construction. So that's trucking, landscaping. Those services are still getting procured through Bid Express. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next section. Professional services, if you're a consultant like my environmental guy over here, you do need to use that vendor portal for pre-qualification and also to view any advertisements now or notices to consultants for environmental type work, and then to respond to statements of interest. So the portal is being expanded. It's one of the reasons why I say make sure that you get on here. All other vendors, you can use it to register and view bidding opportunities. CDOT does post these on their website now, but you can find these solicitations on their website. Then Rocky Mountain EPurchasing, thank you very much. CDOT does advertise through this system. If you're not familiar with Rocky Mountain EPurchasing, it is primarily for state or for local and municipal government. A lot of the airports are on there too, some of the public schools. And you can search everything for free, but if you want to get notifications, you do need to pay. I think it's $90 a year now or $89. You pay $89 a year and you can get email notifications sent to you. So it's another great way if you're not kind of connected in and you want to see opportunities that are out there for what you do. It's a good way to get a little bit more of a spread of what's going on. We talked about Colorado bids. I'm not going to go into a great deal about this because David Musgrave in the back is here, and he actually works for the state purchasing office, and he's downstairs at the table today, and he can tell you more about price agreements, but CDOT uses this as well, and essentially they're like a blanket purchase order, if you guys know what that is, or an IDIQ if you work in federal land. Where you have a contract and then agencies can do task orders against that directly with you. So it limits the competition. It's kind of like a preferred vendor list, if you think about it that way. Generally, those price agreements are goods and services only, though. It's kind of in this category. It doesn't really count in the trucking side, unless you wanted to sell trucks, maybe. Now, there is a 3% statewide purchasing goal, if you guys aren't familiar with this. It went into effect last year, and it is for service-disabled vets. Any service-disabled vets in here? All right. Any of you certified as service-disabled vet? You're going to be in a family, in our little SPDCP TAC family. We're going to work on that for you, okay? But yeah, so to be able to count towards these goals, you do have to be certified. And it's just a process where you can you provide your DD-214. But PTAC can help you. We can help you with that. But then you can find opportunities. And I just found out from David today that there's 158, that's it, in the state of Colorado, 158 service-disabled vets that are certified, okay? That means for 3% of all the contracting dollars that are going out in the state of Colorado, they're going to 158. It probably won't, right? They're gonna have a tough time meeting the goal with 158, but let me tell you what, if you guys get certified, you're only competing against 158 other people who are doing a whole lot of different things, right? So it's a pretty limited pool right now. CDOT also has this same goal that applies to them. So from a procurement or a purchasing standpoint, it's a real big opportunity. So look into that if you haven't done that already. All right, any questions about that? That's kind of my goods and services pitch. And I know this is going to seem like a lot, and I hate to sort of fire hose everybody, but feel free, ask questions as we go along and see what we got. Okay, highway construction. So here's my trucking, my landscaping. We're going to get free to do construction site cleanup here sometime, right? No problem. On the construction side then, just so you know, like CDOT, they hire prime contractors. They don't work with subcontractors, right? Subcontractors contract to a prime. If you do prime contract with CDOT, you need to be pre-qualified. Does everybody know what that means? Did you know you had to be pre-qualified with CDOT? Yes, well, of course you did. I know you did. The rest of you, if you didn't know, if you're going to prime contract with CDOT, you do need to be pre-qualified. You also have to be able to perform 30% of the work. Now, most small businesses, your path to entry is not as a prime, okay? CDOT, for example, well, I'll use you for trucking. I can't think of one time in the history that I've known that they've directly contracted as a prime with a trucking company. It's usually part of another project, right? So you have a highway construction project that's going on, or you know, maybe it's something that's it's a bridge work and they need trucks to bring material in or haul dirt out. You're gonna contract with the prime, okay? Now, who knows who the primes are in town? You see them on those orange triangles or diamond signs everywhere, right? Think about a lot of Kiewit, right? Ames. Who else is down here? Kramer and Sons. They're doing 25, right? And Cimarron. Flatirons. They're the ones doing ILEX. So you'll know who these guys are. They don't switch out very often. And it's the same folks bidding all the time. So those are the guys that you need to get to know. If you are looking to see what types of contracts are coming out or what projects are being bid, they do get advertised again on CDOT's website. So you can always find solicitations on CDOT's website. It is what they call sealed competitive bidding in most cases. So most of the time CDOT is procuring highway construction services based upon low bid. All right? So it doesn't mean how cute you are, how good looking, or if you got a beard or not. I know, right? Freedom, man, you'd be raking up right now if that was the case. No, it's all low bid. Now, it doesn't apply to things like design build, the big projects, but for most highway construction projects, that's what you're going to see. So being price competitive is super important on this side. You can get plans for projects through Bid Express and from CDOT. Excuse me. There is a system that they use called Bid Express. So one more system we're going to talk about. If you do highway construction, Bid Express is where all of those types of projects get advertised, and you have to submit your bids through there. We do have some free sponsored accounts through the CDOT program. So if you're interested in this, if this is your side of the house, we could hook you up with that. They are available for DBE and ESP certified firms, which you're going to say, what's that? And I'm going to tell you in a minute. So the basic requirements we talked about, there is a pre-qualification process. It's a standard form. You still do mail that form in. You do need to know, this is what we talked about. These guys can help too. Understanding all of this, this is the federal or the sort of federal funded, but it's government mumbo jumbo, right? You must know the standard specs. If you guys do not know standard specs, I have a copy of one downstairs on the table that I'm giving out to a lucky winner. We call it the Green Book or the Bible. And standard special provisions. It's like, well, why? Because they don't do standard specs all the time, so they modify them. The project has specials. Then there's bid rules, and then there's all these little things down here that people don't think about until they see it in the terms of the contract with CDOT, and they say, oh man, I have to have CDOT as an additional assured on my car insurance? Bizarre, but true. Even if you're providing professional services, okay? There's certain things that you need to know. You also have to have certain contractor licenses. Bonding for construction, that's a big one. If you do not know about Davis-Bacon, have you heard of Davis-Bacon? Have you heard of green eggs and ham? All right, Davis-Bacon, prevailing wage, all right? This is something you need to start to know. And the other thing would be certified payrolls. These are all part of federal regulations that sort of flow down, including green eggs and ham. But you'll see that in your contract. That would be under a project special provision. So where do you find these? CDOT will advertise these again on their website. They do have a go sheet. And you guys all have this presentation in the packet that you picked up. All of these links go to the right places, I think. But if you've got it, you can open this presentation and use these links to find opportunities. So the go sheet, that's one of them where it will show you upcoming projects for the next 90 days. CDOT has significantly improved this over the last year. They're now showing kind of the level of what they consider to be the possibility, so that you can kind of see, is it really going to go through, is it not? Who's the contact for it? What's the estimated budget amount? And then pre-qualified prime contractors. Remember we said all primes have to be pre-qualified. What's that mean? Ames, Granite, Flatirons, all those guys are on this list. That list has phone numbers for everybody. All right, so it's a good way to get contacts there. Plan holders listing. CDOT also lists this. If you download plans for a project, you get put onto a list. There's a contact information that's there as well. These are all ways that you can get access to those project opportunities. So if you're interested, you need to start getting familiar with this land. All right, design and engineering. We're going to talk about this a little bit, even though I've just got my one environmental guy in here. But this is just so that you all know the landscape a little bit. So when they talk about consultant services, they don't mean a consultant like a PTAC consultant or an SBDC consultant. They mean someone who does engineering. It's design, architecture. I think they have something called industrial hygienist. I don't know what that is, but it sounds kind of creepy. But yeah, so that all kind of falls under this category. And this is what happens pre-construction, right? Someone's got to design what's going to happen before you build it. It's just like building a house. You have a set of plans from an architect, then you build the house. Same goes with a highway, same goes with a bridge. So in this case, these are advertised on CDOT's website. You're going to see two acronyms that come with it. And I get asked about this a lot because people will say, what does it mean if it's PS or NPS? And essentially, CDOT goes out to bid with two different types of engineering contracts. There's PS, which is project specific, meaning it's just for this project. NPS, non-project specific, meaning that is kind of like that price agreement or the blanket purchase order that then they task order against. So depending upon what the little acronym is, you know. Project specific, usually one prime is selected. Non-project specific, you're probably going to have multiple teams. So you'll see more than one that covers those areas. They do have a statement of interest. An SOI essentially is it's like, if you know what an RFP is, request for proposal. Statement of interest is essentially your proposal back. It's just that it's a standard form that CDOT uses that has very specific categories. It's fairly short, it's like 10 pages total, but it has everyone who works in this land with CDOT knows how to do this. If you don't, you need to get familiar with it, okay? And then on this case, price is not a factor. So this is why it's different. Low bid is not the way it works on this side. They call it best or most qualified. So it's not really best value either because it's most qualified. Price is actually not a factor at all. All right? So they look at your qualifications and make a decision. Basic requirements, again, to be a prime consultant and a sub-consultant, you have to be pre-qualified. So this is a little different from construction. You need to go through the supplier portal to do that. And you also have to set up a master price agreement. Master price agreements can be a little tricky because it locks you into rates for a year. And it's based upon your indirect cost rate. Does this sound familiar to you? I'm not going to get into this. This is a crazy mess. You and I could talk about this offline. Everyone else will be like, oh my gosh, what? FAR accounting principles and GAAP and oh, lordy. Yeah, but we know how to do that here. The other thing to know then, requirements, you do have to have things like professional insurance. So you'll have auto insurance, same thing, PE license if you're an engineer. And it's stuff that you just need to make sure that it's like having your ducks in a row before you head for it, okay? Sometimes it's like, hey, you know I could do that work. Put a proposal in, put a price on it. You get the work. You're like, sweet, this is all good. I can make it happen. I don't know how yet, but I'll make it happen, right? And you usually do. I mean, we know everybody that's here and comes to these things, you guys are good. So, so that's how that works, but you do need to have your ducks in a row. How do you find out about these? I put teaming and subcontracting first. There's no link. I wish I had a link that said, do you want to be on this team? Would you like to have this subcontracting opportunity? There's not. This is called legwork link. All right? Because when it comes to this side of the house, because it's not low bid and it's based on qualifications, it's where people are putting teams together and everyone knows each other. Who are the big prime consultants in town? The guys that do the engineering side. You won't see them on the signs. Does anybody know? AECom, CH2M Hill, Parsons. These all sound familiar? Those are the big guys, and those are the ones that you're going to need to know. All right, same thing. You're going to want to get them to know your qualifications, what you're different, how you can create a niche and be a component on their team that adds value. You can also, again, there's a pre-qualified prime directory, what's actually now prime sub directory. It's just a pre-qualified directory. And then you do have regional project engineers. So in each of those 5 regions, there's an RE, and they tend to know what's happening before everybody else, except for the primes. Parsons and those guys, they know at the same time. But us little guys, we don't necessarily know that same time. So getting to know them is a good thing to do. On the website, they do have some things. You can look at the projects that are going on. And what I always usually recommend to people on the engineering side, get familiar with the environmental side of CDOT. Because if the project is going into environmental, it's going to go into design. All right? If you're doing environmental, some of the design work will have that as a component. But if they're doing a NEPA study, if they're doing an environmental impact, more than likely it's going to go into design. All right, any questions about that? I know. I wish this was simpler. I wish I could just put one link up and be like, go there. That's kind of like what David's is. He's like, we have this fabulous 3-step process. You just go to our website and you look here. And I was like, my presentation's not like that. I wish. But it's really not. It sounds like a lot and it sounds kind of crazy, but you have people like, you know, SBDC, PTAC to help you work through it. It's really not brain surgery and it's not that tough. You can get work. There's a lot of work to be had. I guess that's part of it too, so think of it that way. One of the ways to do that is with small business programs. So are you all familiar with these at all? Has anyone heard of the DBE? The DBE program, is the Disadvantaged Business Program, and essentially it's for small and disadvantaged businesses, meaning minority and women-owned businesses primarily. It does not include veterans as a part of that. However, it doesn't exclude veterans, all right? You can be considered what they say socially and economically disadvantaged if you are a white male-owned company, but you do have to prove that you've been socially disadvantaged. So there has to be a characteristic or something about you that makes you different and have been discriminated against, all right? I would say it's a pretty tough sell. I think in the 15 years that I've done work with CDOT, I have not seen any. So, but it doesn't mean, like I said, with the veteran side of the house, they do have programs to try to incentivize using veterans. So it just may not be this is your route to doing that. But for everyone else who's either minority or woman, this is a fabulous program. And it does help give you a competitive advantage. These are the basic qualifications. Small businesses, when we talk about your maximum revenue, is anyone making over 24 million? Because if you are, let's all leave and like go to an island somewhere. But no, so that's what they consider a small business. So realize that it's still pretty large. In terms of the DBE program itself, there is a UCP, what they call a Unified Certification Program. So it is recognized by about 50 different agencies across the state. It's not just a CDOT program, it's statewide. It's one of the only statewide programs that we have. And you only have to get certified once in order for it to count at all those. CDOT, local agency, all that kind of good stuff. There are two different certifying agencies. One is CDOT, one is City and County of Denver. You do not have to live in Denver or work in Denver to get certified by them. They're just one of the certifying agencies. It does not cost anything to get certified as a DBE. However, if you go through City and County of Denver, you may think it does, because on their application it says that they charge $200. But it's $200 only if you want to be considered for Denver's other small business programs. They have an MWBE, SBE, EBE. There's a whole lot of other acronyms that they have programs around, but it's only for City and County of Denver. Okay, for DBE, it's free. And so any airport municipality that uses CDOT funding, they also use this program. And the reason why you should get certified, not only do you get listed in a public directory, again, it's the one database they have where you can see, but CDOT and those local agencies will set project-specific goals for DBEs. What that means is if they have a $10 million construction project and they put a 10% DBE goal on it, how much, since math is my favorite, how much, this is an easy one, how much of that contract must go to DBE certified firms? 1 million, right? That's a lot of work for a DBE firm or multiple DBE firms. So the idea is they have goals. It is a goal, right? So that prime contractor must meet that goal or try really hard. They call make a good faith effort that they have. So they're actively searching out DBEs. You'll probably hear this when you start your trucking business. People will say, yeah, okay, are you DBE certified? Do you get that, Frida? Do people ask you? Yeah. It becomes a question where it really is a competitive differentiator for you. Okay, the ESP program. This is kind of the sister program to CDOT's DBE, and this only applies to CDOT. It does not apply to any other agencies, Denver, anything like that. This is an emerging small business program, and it's for smaller size companies. So if you think about it, it's 1/2 of the revenue of the DBE program or the SBA size standard, all right? You do have to work in an eligible area of work. So when we talk about this, these are things that are highway design and construction related only. It does not trickle out to transit type things. Like in transit, you can have bus advertising, you could have building the bus things that you stand in and sit on the seat with. This is really terrible. Bus shelter, thank you very much. Wow. Okay. You know, see, that was kind of a little game we play. I'll keep doing that as we go, believe me. So yeah, the bus shelters. So it doesn't include things like that, all right? But it does include highway design construction. And the reason why you should get certified as an ESP is that CDOT is working on the program right now to provide financial incentives to prime contractors for using ESP certified firms. It can go up to $250,000. I think the incentive on the US 6 project in Denver was about $180,000. That means CDOT was going to give that prime contractor $180,000 just to meet an ESB goal. That gives them an incentive to use a small firm. And we're not talking about a couple bucks here. You know, that's if they say, oh, it costs too much to help these small businesses. Not if we give you $180,000. I mean, that's a pretty big incentive. So they do have incentives that come out. They also are putting in a new process for scoring. So on the engineering side, they're going to start scoring or adding points into that score for proposals that's based upon the prime consultant's past performance working with ESBs. So essentially they're going to get a grade. And then that gets applied to their proposals moving forward. And I can tell you these guys are trying to squeak out every single point they can get. It's usually on a 100-point scale. I've seen it go between 1-2 points, right? And they're looking at, they have another thing that's called a workload factor, which most of the big guys can't get points for because they're over the workload. So they're like, how do I get these points? Oh, I got to work with ESB firms. Okay, I'll do it. So it's a really good way to get involved on that side. Any questions about certifications for you guys at all? No? Are y'all just like, whoa, confetti? It's so exciting, isn't it? All right, so small business services, I'll just tell you again, with ConnectedOt, you do have access to, SBDC I think has a network of about 225 consultants across the state. They know everything. I mean, if you want to get an equipment line of credit or like if you want to buy a truck, if you want to lease a truck, they can help you find people to do that. If you want to start your business and you're not sure, am I an LLC, am I an S Corp, they can help you do that. When it gets into specifics in contracting with CDOT, we have a team that's got a lot of industry experience. About 8 of them are retired CDOT. We just might recruit Scott to help as well. You could be a consultant for ConnectedOt. Come on, Scott. But yeah, so we do have a lot. He's like, I don't think so. We do have a lot of right. I mean, if you had access to talk to someone like this who's worked at CDOT for years and knows it from the inside, it's invaluable. So those guys can really help you if you're looking and you're, you know, if you're getting to the bidding, the estimating piece, and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, if I've got quantity takeoffs right. We've got folks that can help you do that. And it's all free. I mean, most of these guys, when Scott becomes a consultant out there for real, he's probably going to charge you about $500 an hour. So, so we can do this much cheaper for you. We have a whole lot of different resources that are available. I can tell you more about this if you come see me downstairs. But I just wanted to kind of give you, this is like my punch list. If you want to do work with CDOT, do your homework, number one. Right? There's all that stuff that you need to know. I gave you this really high overview, and it seems like a lot of stuff. It is. But you can figure it out. If I figure it out, you can figure it out. That's the way I look at it. Get certified if you can. Service disabled, DBE, ESB. Get registered in the vendor portal. All right? And again, we can help you with that. Get pre-qualified. Especially if you're on the engineering side, it's better to do it up front. Don't wait until someone says, hey, you want to be part of our team? It's like, yeah, but I have to wait 90 days to get pre-qualified. Okay, you miss opportunities that way. Get your other ducks in a row. Identify key contacts. You still have to sell. I mean, a lot of people think with the government, because they publish their notices publicly, that all you have to do is respond to it and you're in. That's not how it works. I mean, low bid may do that, but I'm telling you, if you're a subcontractor and you're working with a prime, they're not going to just take your low bid based upon a piece of paper that gets sent in. They're going to start calling their friends and say, hey, have you ever worked with this guy before? What do you know about him? Is he good? Is he not? Should we take that bid or not? So you still got to know people. Network and team, and then schedule a consulting session with us. But the biggest thing is be persistent. It takes time. You're not going to come out of the gate and get a government contract tomorrow. And you won't get a contract with CDOT tomorrow. Well, you might. I won't say you won't. but it's kind of like winning the lotto, right? It's going to take a little bit of time and legwork to do that. Cool. So I'm going to have Toy come up because I know she's got some resources too. I'm going to let her talk a little bit about anything related that you would love to.
Good morning. I'm going to talk more about the personal services side and selling goods and services to CDOT through the Procurement and Contract Services Office. And I have some information on our supplier portal system that Kate was talking about, the vendor system. It's different from the state system core. CDOT has their own system that you go through, and we advertise all of our solicitations on Rocky Mountain Biz as well. But you can only see the advertisement there, and then you have to come back to that portal to actually get the information and send in a bid. So I have all these handouts, and I can get these out or have them up here if you want. So we have the requirements that you'll need. I also have how to set up your user ID and password, because it's a pretty, I won't say it's a hard system to navigate, but it could be tricky. And so we have people there to help you through it. We're going to be doing some workshops in June. You can come into CDOT and we'll help you go through it. We'll set you up and show you how to use the system, to let you see what's out there and how to bid on those services as well at that time. So you can just check the CDOT website on the Procurement and Contract Services, and you'll see those updates. And then the third handout is going to be navigating and maintaining the vendor portal account. I also have our quarterly newsletter from the Procurement and Contract Services Office, and this has got some updates and news about our shopping cart system, our vendor portal system, our procurement thresholds, and how anything under $5,000 doesn't need a bid, and you just call us directly, and if you have something that we need, we can procure it from you right at that time. Anything $5,000 to $10,000 requires one written bid, so you can still do business with the state on a small time scale if you're not to the point where you need to be right that Kathy was talking about. Like she said, you can start doing business with CDOT tomorrow if you have what we need. It's just a matter of getting in there, contacting one of us. Pat O'Neill is not here today, but she handles all of our online price agreements for CDOT. So you can contact her as well. I think our contact information, it's not in this handout, but I'll give you my card and you can contact me directly and I can get you in touch with Pat and whoever else you need to. Kathy covered pretty much everything. I was just here to add some more information. Do you have any questions for me?
Cool.
Great.
All right. So thank you to yeah, I know. I only hit at one. I didn't realize they were all summaries. So I wasn't a very good helper. So that's it. Fabulous, right? Is this the best thing you've ever come to? Of course. Okay, there's beer afterwards. I'll buy y'all beer for staying with me. Awesome, right? Actually, I think they have little tickets. I'll get you one of those. Yeah, so any questions? Anything? CDOT. I know you're going to be part of my little family now. You could be part of my little family, too. We'll have a little CDOT commune going on. That's funny. I just want, yes?
Or participate with Denver RTD, the Metro Rail?
Yes.
Okay. In what capacity?
Funding. Money.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think about fast tracks, there's CDOT money in it. Most of the transit type activities are going to have some CDOT funding in them at some level. So especially big projects. That's typically the participation, but like I said, if you have a project like that, then CDOT, like the DBE program is going to apply. There's going to be some CDOT oversight and management on that side. And then also some of the rules and regulations are going to flow down. So sometimes like kind of you think about it as a, well, I want to say a funnel. It's more of a pyramid. Federal government regs are really tight, right? State level gets a little looser. Local agency gets a little looser. Private sectors, who cares, right? Well, unless I guess it's like hazardous material or something. But for the most part, that's kind of how it works. So So you'll see that as that money flows down. And when I say it's CDOT money, it's not necessarily CDOT money. It's going to be federal highways. Do you guys know the other three Fs? That Federal Highway Administration. There's 2 other agencies, Federal Transit and Federal Aviation. So if you think of it that way, highway, transit, aviation. That's where the money comes from in terms of US DOT, big level DOT. So they get that money, that then funnels down, and then the fun stuff starts. You know, the plane trips to Belize, and you guys did that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, those executive management retreats. Yeah.
All the way to DIA.
Yeah, to DIA. Yeah, they got to go to Elways at DIA. They didn't get to go anywhere from DIA. Yeah, box lunches. Yeah, exactly. Any other questions? If you have questions, feel free to call me. I've got business cards downstairs. I think my info's on this here too. Call or email me. I'm usually available, so I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Like I said, federal government stuff too, I usually shift them. I mean, I know some about federal government, but I would rather have the PTAC folks talk to you about that, and then we can help you more with the CDOT and sort of transit if you are interested in that level. I mean, we do a lot of work with, what's it called? Colorado Springs Mountain Metropolitan Transit. Sorry. I just know Brittany good. She's the supplier diversity person down there, and she's fabulous. And she's always looking for DBEs. And she asked me the other day for a janitorial DBE, so I gave her your name, Frida. But those are the kinds of things where it's a little bit more expansive in the DBE program, you'll see, for some of those things. So I can get you connected. I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't know everybody, but I usually know somebody who can get me somebody else. So give us a holla. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, you guys.